Hey everyone, welcome to the Retire Happy Planning Workshop with Mike Brenhog here. And what we're going to cover tonight, I just want to share a few things with you. And if you get nothing else from this, one of the things that I want you to remember is that it's so important that you be 100% in control of your retirement. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's so many things happening today. And if you just kind of Google some of the headlines, like top financial news, you're going to see a ton of stuff, right? Well, the fact of the matter is that you and your retirement are number one. Everybody wants to retire happy, but unfortunately, not everyone will. And you really need to begin with the end in mind. What is it that you want your retirement to look like? What is it? Have you thought about that? Well, it doesn't matter if you're just starting to retire and are starting to plan for retirement, or if you're just starting with your career and you're trying to put together a retirement plan and you don't know what it's going to look like with everything going on. And you probably have questions like, will you get Social Security, things like that. So we're going to cover some of the things tonight, but number one that I want you to remember, 100% in control of your retirement. Write that down, make a note of it, because this is not just one process that you plan for retirement and then kind of set it and forget it, throw it away in the file drawer. It doesn't work that way. You're going to be reviewing this on a regular basis. You're going to educate yourself. And that's what we're about. We're about educating you on how to properly plan for retirement, for you to plan for your retirement, right? Don't give anyone else control. Use them as resources. Use the people and tools as a tool to help you plan for retirement. The mistake that many people make is they work with a financial professional and they give them control of everything. And you're not in control. You want to relinquish control is basically what you're doing. You don't want to do that. You want to take control and you want to seek them for input, kind of like a team approach, right? And that's the approach we take, is a team approach. So anyways, I'm going to share with you some reasons why. So let's scroll into this. We already talked about that, but here's some of the reasons why you need to be 100% in control of your retirement. Average inflation. Take a look at this. All right. Between 1960 and 2021, right, it was 3.8%. Now it's 9.6%. All right. Inflation's off the charts. Inflation's off the charts. And some economists believe that it's actually more like about 15%, because the way the government calculates inflation. All right. Unprecedented spending bills. Now there's this spending bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, right? What is that? Well, will it actually reduce inflation? Honestly, I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Here we are in August of 2022, and I promise you that the Inflation Reduction Act or spending bill, whatever you want to call it, will not reduce inflation. All right. It doesn't work that way. But I promise you taxes are going to go up. So with that $80 billion, 45.65 billion, so 45 billion was specifically allocated for enhanced enforcement. Enhanced enforcement for the IRS. So what does that tell you? They're going to hire 87,000 new agents over the next 10 years. This has been all over the news, so this is probably not the first time you're reading it. But what you probably don't know is currently, as of 2021, I checked this out, there's about 78,000 full-time equivalent IRS employees. That means they're going to more than double the size of the IRS agents. Why are they doing that? Well, they're doing it for enhanced enforcement. They are coming after you. I don't care what the politicians say, that they're not going to audit, they're not going to target anyone that makes less than 400,000. Well, first of all, let me tell you that 400,000 today really is not as much as you think it is. Now, 400,000 20 years ago would have been a little different story, but it's not that much these days. When you look at, regular tract homes that are going for 800,000, 900,000, and over $1 million just for a 3 or 4 bedroom tract home that's 1,500 square feet. 400,000 is not that much, but I promise you that they will be targeting. They're politicians. All right, I'll leave it at that. Now, U.S. debt, $30 trillion. Now, I've shared on this webinar plenty of times the US debt clock, you can see it just, cranking up. Off the charts debt, 30 trillion. Taxes are on the rise, even with the Inflation Reduction Spending Bill. All right. So you can see that. US median home prices, you can see they're off the charts. Now, here in August 2022, we're starting to see some of the prices drop in real estate, which is great. Why is that happening? Because the feds have jacked up the interest rates, and they're going to continue to jack up the interest rates until they can control inflation. All right. Here's something else you probably don't know. If you experience a 20% loss, you actually need to gain a 25% in order to restore those losses. So if your money's in the stock market, which is not necessarily a bad thing, you just need to understand it so you can control it and you understand how it works. That's the most important thing. But what many people don't realize is that in order to restore that loss of 20%, you actually need to gain 25%. Many people don't even know that. Now, based on historical returns of the S&P 500 index over the past 40 years, all right, so this historical index, a loss of 35% will require several years to recover. So that means if you're in this window where you're approaching retirement in the next, let's say 10 to 15 years, especially if you're in that 5 to 10 year window, and you're in something that's really risky and you lose money, you may not restore those losses. You may not recover within that. And that can have a major impact on your retirement income when you retire. Check this out. 64% of Americans are not prepared for retirement. And 48%, they simply don't care. Number one reason people file for bankruptcy is due to medical expenses. And 72% of people had some form of medical insurance. Why do I share this? This is not me saying this. This is information that you can find all over the internet. Well, it's because if you have cancer, heart attack, stroke, a major illness, your medical insurance isn't going to cover everything. All right. That's complicated in itself, medical insurance. You have out-of-pocket costs, but then there's also the non-medical related costs. What about if you lose a job? What about if you have to travel to a different city and you have overnight travel, or to a different state for medical care, right? Especially when it comes to cancer or heart attack. Almost 1 in 4 American cancer survivors said they struggle to pay medical bills, according to a new CDC report. And 1/3 have worried about their out-of-pocket medical cost. It's off the charts. And again, you don't control it. Life happens. So the best that you can do is kind of prepare. And that's what this is about. I'm bringing all these facts to you to make a point that you need to be 100% in control of your retirement. Now, majority of states, this is if you're a public employee, listen up here. Majority of states were struggling to satisfy their pension liability requirements before the financial crisis of 2008, with just around 80% of their pension liabilities covered. So what does that mean? Well, back then in 2008, they had about 80 cents for every dollar of liability that they had. Well, now state pensions are facing even more challenges. Now they're somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 to 60 cents per dollar of obligation they have. They don't have enough money. So what does that mean? Well, you still get your pension, but what it means, significant changes are going to happen, right? If they don't have the money, they don't have the money, all right? They have to make changes to the pension plans. And then we all heard about the 350 billion COVID. Well, this new plan, the Inflation Reduction Spending Bill, is much more than the 350 billion COVID economic relief plan. But the thing is, you add all this on top, where does the government get money, right? So as we're talking here, I'm going to share a couple things with you that I'll pull up on the screen and share with you. This is super important. Let me pull this up right here. I'm going to move this over on the screen. I like to share websites because I want you to be able to go to the source. Check this out. What are the sources of revenue from the federal government? Federal government, they don't manufacture a thing, right? They don't provide a service other than, racking up debt. But about 50% of federal revenue comes from individual income taxes. Individual. Look at this. 50% of the revenue from the government comes from individual income tax. All right. So when you hear that they're hiring 87,000 agents, they don't need 87,000 agents to target the billionaires and the corporate and small business. They don't need that. What they need is they need to target the individual because they need to expand this. They don't need 87,000 agents. All right. So just know taxes are going up. I share that with you because taxes have a major impact on your retirement. Major impact. All right. And if you don't believe so, I'll show you a few things. All right. Let's take a look here. Taxes. If you have $1 and you double it 20 times, look at this. This is before any taxes is taken out. And you're just doubling. And it doesn't matter the number of years. You're just doubling that dollar. All right. 20 times. Becomes over $1 million. Now, if you were to apply a 20% tax on that or a fee, look at it, 629,000. A 25%, it's 524,000. 33%, it's 356,000. That's the impact that taxes has. They're pulling money from you out of your pocket that you've worked your life to save for retirement. So when you're socking away money, tax deferred, tax deferred, tax deferred, and hoping that when you go to retire, that your tax rate will be less, it doesn't work that way any longer. All right. It's just not happening. Why is that? Because our government has these unprecedented spending bills with the Inflation Reduction Spending Bill, the $350 billion COVID Relief Act. I mean, that money has to come from somewhere. Where is it going to come from? So I'm sharing this with you, not to scare you, but to, like I said, I want you to be 100% control because there are things that you can do to help offset that. It's going to put you more in control. All right. So here's the debt clock. And you can see here, this is 28.8 trillion. When we started these webinars last November, this is the number we were using. Actually, I think it's in the 27 and I had updated it. Well, now it's over 30 trillion. If you go to usdebtclock.org, it's over 30 trillion. It's just off the charts, Social Security. All right. Many people rely on Social Security. Well, here's a couple things that you need to know about Social Security. First and foremost, if you go to the Social Security website, they will tell you right here, the 3 most common options to save for retirement is number 1, your employer sponsored plan. If you're a public employee, that's your pension. If you're in the private sector, that is your 401k most likely, right? They have a 401k. So you should rely on that first. That first and foremost needs to be your number 1 savings vehicle is the retirement plan, according to Social Security. Number 2 is any additional savings or investments that you have personally that you control. And then number 3 is your Social Security. But see, what has happened because people lack of education like this, what we're teaching here is not readily available, and people don't know, and people are not taught to be in control and plan and save. They don't put enough away in their 401k, or they may not have a 401k if they're working with small business or employed by a small business. They may not have access to a 401k or a structured retirement plan, so they don't save. All right. And then they don't have much money to maybe save to sock away into a Roth Ira or something else that they control. And so then by default, they just rely on Social Security. And that's why retirement in itself is a pandemic. If you think about it, so many people are not retiring happy. We want to teach you to take control and to retire happy. That's why we're doing this webinar. All right. So check this out. Social Security changes are coming. Now, again, changes have made. This report's been updated. Before it was 2037 and is now 2035. They have enough money to go through 2035. At that point, they are making some changes. They have to make changes. Congress will need to make changes to the scheduled benefits and revenue source for the program in the future. I took this directly from the Social Security Administration website, right? So the Social Security Board of Trustees project that change is equivalent to an immediate reduction in benefits of about 13%. What does that mean? If you're on Social Security, they're going to give you a 13% haircut, or an immediate increase in the combined payroll tax from 12.4 to 14.4. So you pay 6.2%, and your employer currently pays 6.2%. That's where the 12.4% comes from. They're going to bump that up to 14.4. So basically, you're going to be paying 7.2, and your employer is going to pay 7.2 to make up the 14.4. So you're going to pay more now out of your check. Is going to come an additional 1%. You're going to pay a total 7.2% of your paycheck into Social Security. All right. Or they're going to do a combination of these. All right. So changes are coming with Social Security. Again, this is why you need to be 100% in control. So what can you do about it? All right. Well, here's what I want to share with you that you can do. First and foremost, it starts with knowing where you're at, what your retirement looks like. Now, for those of you that were on our call last week, we have our Jane Doe, and I'm going to pull this up here because we're working on this, and I'm going to show a couple other things here. Now, this software program that we use is a tool that helps us plug everything that you have related to your retirement into this software program that will illustrate what your retirement will look like. I call it a retirement snapshot, because if you're going to make any decisions about your retirement, you need to know where you're at today so that you can make an informed and intelligent decision. Unfortunately, many people make an emotional decision. While this is something that is so important, you shouldn't be making an emotional decision about. You need to make an informed and intelligent decision. So let me pull this up on screen here, just to give you an idea here. So this person that we're talking about here is Jane Doe. This is our, our Jane Doe client. All right. Now, with Jane Doe, she makes $6,000 a month. All right, is her gross pay. And Jane Doe, we have her plugged in, is working at a university, all right, as a professor. And I'll show you the impact of a couple things that I want to share with you. One is Social Security, the other is taxes, and then the other is the type of pension, because I get that question all the time. So I'm going to share this with you, and then we're going to take a look at Jane's gap analysis, or her retirement snapshot. We're going to take a look at it and say, what can we do to improve this? All right, so let's take a look at it. So to give you an idea, she's making $6,000. She's on a pension plan because she's with the university. The current accounts that Jane has, she has a Roth Ira that currently has about 100,000. Her pre-retirement rate of return, according to her statements, year over year, not just 1 year, but year over year, is 5%. Okay. I'm going to bump that up to 6%. We're going to give her the benefit of the doubt that she made some changes and improved that to 6%. Then she also has a 403B that has 25,000, and that's earning a pre-retirement rated return of 4%. On the Roth IRA, when she goes to pull that money out, that's going to be tax-free. Her 40, and the reason it's tax-free is because it is funded with after-tax dollars. The 403B that she has is coming out of her check directly, and it's funded with pre-tax dollars. It's considered a qualified account, meaning that it's pre-tax, it's gonna grow tax deferred, but when she goes to take this money out, she's gonna have to pay taxes on it, okay? All right, so that's all the additional retirement. So she has her pension, her Roth IRA, and a 403B. And let's take a look at what her retirement will look like. So this is what it's gonna look like. Let me turn this on here. I'm gonna share with you. See this green bar here that I'm blinking? That is her Social Security. So she's going to get approximately $1,800 a month from Social Security. All right, her Florida retirement, she's on the investment plan. Now, depending on the state and your employer, university, school district, if you're a public employee, whatever it may be, you may have a couple different retirement options to choose from. In Florida with the FRS, there is the investment option and then there's the pension option. And I'm going to talk about that more in a moment. But she's contributing to that. And you can see this light blue section here. That's her Florida investment retirement. Look what's happening. She's running out of money. Now, she has her 403B, this little sliver right there. Now, I've set this up where she's taken a percentage of that account per year. And we can change that as well, and I'll show you how that works. Then you have your Roth Ira that I've set up where she's taken a percentage, okay? This red section that's blinking right now, this is the shortfall or gap that Jane is going to have in her retirement. That's the problem we need to solve. And this is why you need to solve this problem today. Look at here. She's going to experience at age 72. She's going to retire at 65. At age 72, so she's into this thing 7 years into retirement. She's starting to run out of money. This is not uncommon. I do this each and every week, 20, 30 times myself with my entire team. We have hundreds of these meetings every week, and this is very typical. This is why we do these webinars and why we emphasize, and why you can probably tell I'm very passionate about this, that you need to be 100% in control of your retirement. You need to know what your retirement is going to look like so you can plan today. You can make changes today while you have time to make changes. Imagine if you're in a 5-year window and you're getting set to retire. You don't have enough time to make a major impact to solve this problem. You don't, unfortunately. All right. But if you're younger and you've got a long enough window, there are some options, right? There's some things that you can do to change the outcome so that you can retire happy. That's what this is about. So a couple things that let's take a look at here that can impact your retirement. The first thing, and by the way, this is why you need to meet with us. You can do this on your own, try and calculate it with a spreadsheet and, run the numbers. I had a client today, he was trying to calculate it. One of the things that he didn't take into consideration was his annual raise of just 1.5% per year on average over the next 20 years has a big difference on your income. And if you're a public employee, on how your pension works, okay? So it makes a big difference. So you need us. I'm just gonna be honest with you to put this together for you. It's the quick, it's the easy way. And now you can get to work figuring out what it is that you wanna do to solve this problem, all right? It's gonna bring peace of mind for you. So let's get back to this. What can we do to solve this problem? Well, let's take a look at some scenarios. First of all, is what is your life expectancy? When you look at your family history, you look at your lifestyle, you look at your current health, what is your life expectancy? All right. Well, what if we bumped it down to, let's say, 87? All right. Based on, your family history and everything that you know about yourself. That's certainly going to help out some of the years, right? So you don't need your money to last as long. But what else can we do? Well, let's take a look at inflation. Right now, I have it at 4%. From 1960 to 2021, it is 3.8% on average. I've plugged in 4%. All right. What if inflation is 5%? Take a look at this. See how it goes up here? You're going to need more money. And I get the question here, this black line that you see here represents your needs that you're going to need in retirement. And people ask, well, why is it so high, Mike? Well, welcome to inflation, right? Think about it. From 2045 to 2066 was what, about a little over 20 years, okay? Over that 20-year period, you're going to see inflation. Now, is it going to be that high? I don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. So all you can do is plan accordingly, plan for the best, right? Or plan for the worst, I should say, and hope for the best, is what you do. And that's what this process is about. But let's go ahead and put it back down to 4%, because hopefully the government gets things under control. Now let's take a look at your expenses. What are your expenses? I have it that you're going to need 100% based on what you're making today. Now, when I say begin with the end in mind, what I mean is you need to be thinking about what is it that you want to do when you go to retire? Where do you want to live? Are you going to sell your house, move to something that is smaller, move in with family? You're going to move to a different state? What is it that you're going to do? And is there equity in that home that you can pull out if you move? And can you pay cash for a home? Or are you going to have a house payment? But you need to consider that, all right? What about vehicles? Are your vehicles going to be paid for? Look at some of the major expenses. Usually the biggest expenses for people when they go to retire are outside of taxes, okay? Outside of taxes, your home, your vehicles, and healthcare, all right? Now, I'm assuming that when you go to retire, you're not going to have any children living with you, all right? You're not going to have your 40 or 50-year-old children living with you. But just looking at the basic needs. So can you trim that? What happens if you were to pay your home off? What if your vehicles are paid off? Now, healthcare is something that, again, if you're unfortunately diagnosed with any major illness, that could be off the charts. But let's take a look at what you have a little more control over, and that is your housing, and that's your vehicles. What if you're to scale back and say, you know what, Mike, I'm not going to need 100%. My house is going to be paid for, and I'll have my cars paid off. Not the boat, but I'll have the cars paid off. So what if we bumped it down to 70%? What does that do? Check this out. Watch the graph. Look at what that does. All right. See that? Pretty amazing, right? So when you're thinking about retirement, it's about saving as much as you possibly can. It's about managing your expenses accordingly, because there are things outside of your control, like taxes. Now, I have a tax rate of 24% here. What if taxes were to go up? Check this out. I'm going to move taxes up to 30%. What does that do? Watch this graph. Look at there. All right. It's eaten into your money. You're going to experience a shortfall and a bigger shortfall. It's a lot. Take a look at that. See, that's the impact that taxes have, why you need to be in control. And we have retirement solutions, by the way, tax-free retirement solutions as an alternative that I believe everyone should have as one of the retirement solutions in their retirement portfolio. Because most people, what do they have? They have their traditional 401k or an IRA or a pension that is all going to be taxed. We don't know what taxes are going to be when you go to retire. All I can tell you, based on the data today, the out of control, underline, bold, emphasize, out of control spending by the government, which you have no control over. You are not in Congress, right? You don't get to vote on that. You get to vote for your politicians, and that's about it. But you're not there voting. It's out of control spending, in my opinion. All right. And they're spending your money. They're spending your retirement dollars, to be honest with you. When they make a decision like they did today, boom, and taxes go up. Well, we don't have a choice. And we're going to audit you. Guess what? They just pulled money out of your retirement savings, out of your retirement pocket. They did. They're taking money, 5%, 6%, whatever it may be, it's going to be more. That's how important this is, that you are in control. Hopefully all this is making sense. Now, so we've made some adjustments here, okay, to our plan. Look at that. So that looks a little better. But what are some other things that you can do? Well, certainly you can take a look at increasing, if you have a 401k at work, maximizing that if you're not, right? Putting more away. You can also look at other retirement solutions. If you don't have a Roth IRA, you can take a look at that. You can also look at a tax-free retirement account, or what we call an IUL, Indexed Universal Life. that allows you to put money into a life insurance policy. It's based on a life insurance chassis that you control that is designed for retirement purposes. Okay. It's absolutely amazing. It's one of our most popular retirement solutions that we have. All right. You need to learn more about that. That will help supplement this gap here. All right. So hopefully this is helpful for you. Now, there's a couple other things that I want to share with you here. And that is this 403B right there and the Roth IRA. Let's come over here so you can see. And when we do a call with you and plan this, these are some of the things in the scenarios that we can go through. On the distribution, I've calculated as a percent. Well, what if you decided to say, hey, you know what does it look like, Mike, if I just use the funds as needed? What does that look like? And this is the value of working with a financial professional and working with us, where we're going to share this over Zoom and we're going to work on it together with you. What does that look like? Well, let's come over here. All right. That looks a little better. Okay. We don't have any red gaps now. No red gaps at all. In fact, we eliminated that because we're using the funds as needed. So now we've got our Social Security here. It's going to pull from the first few years the 403B. All right. And typically what it's going to do is it's going to take the account that is not performing as well. Now you can mix it up. You could do between the 403B and this, your investment plan. You could do a 50-50 split, whatever it may be. This is just for illustration purposes, to be able to teach you why it's important you need to be in control so you understand what your retirement looks like. Then you have your Roth IRA here, all right? You can see what that looks like. So instead of taking it as a percentage over the course of the years, we're using the funds as needed. Now, a couple other things that come into play that you also need to consider: the Roth IRA, all right, and the 403B. Let's go to the 403B and see where it says required minimum distributions. Now, on these accounts that are pre-tax, meaning it's tax deferred, you haven't paid taxes on that money yet. The IRS, when you turn 72 right now, I was going to say, we want our tax money. You've had this money long enough, earning some type of an interest in the market or whatever you have it in. We want our money. We want our fair share, right? So the RMD is required minimum distributions, and that's at age 72. So you have to turn that on. Whether you want to or not, you're going to have to take money from that account. All right. So you're going to have to do that. So let's come here. Now you're already taking money here. You're taking out early. So it's not going to indicate any RMDs because you're taking out enough. You'll have this depleted, your 403B, by the time you're 67. Then what's going to kick in is your Florida investment. So you're going to have that, and you're taking distributions from that. So you're good there. Then your Roth IRA here. Okay. So anyways, I hope this helps, but this is the value in doing this exercise. One of the things that I want to share with you is we're going to take the last one that I'll share with you here. And this is for the public employees that have an option between an investment or a pension. All right. So let's take a look at this Florida retirement. All I'm going to do is I'm simply going to go over here, going to go to the retirement plan, and I'm going to change it from the investment plan. I'm going to change it to, let's see, when was the higher date here? Let's take a look at it because it's based on the higher date here. All right. And we're going to change this to a Florida FRS regular class employee hired after 2011. Okay. All right, here we go. And this person, Jane, she was hired at Florida in 2013. All right. There we go. So let's take a look at, this is just changing the plan. Everything else, the monthly gross income has remained the same. And you can see what it does here. All right. Now see how the pension provides a lifetime income. The reason I illustrate this, and I'm going to come back here and I'm going to change this to 100%. Let's say our needs are 100%. And you have a little bit of a gap here. All right. Now, if we come back here, and let's actually go back to our investment plan right here. Just want you to be able to see the differences. Now, see the size of the gap. Now, see here, when you have an investment plan, the light blue is your Florida retirement. You're going to run out of money. I see this again. I do this all the time. And I see this over and over and over, because most likely the investment plan that you're in is a targeted fund. It's going to be like a 2040 or a 2050 targeted fund. And your contributions are pretty limited. And so what happens is you run out of money. Now you're going to have a decent balance. Let's take a look at here, Jane, when we take a look here, and this can be misleading. The Florida FRS retirement plan, she's got $446,000 when she goes to retire. That may seem like a pretty good chunk, right? You think, wow, I'm good. I got almost 450 grand sitting in retirement. I'm going to get my Social Security. Life is good. I'm good, right? Well, what happens when you start pulling that money because you need it for income? And you can see here, this is a partial year because she's retiring at 66, but your full year, you're pulling down 85,000, 89,000, 92,000, 66,000. You're running out of money quickly. All right. Even if it goes on for 10 years, even if you add $1 million. Okay. See how that works? Now, let's come back here. Everything's the same. All we're doing is changing the investment type right here. Regular class employee. We're just changing to the pension. Okay. Let's look at the calculations. You can see how you're not running out of money. It's providing, now it is less because you're not able to pull as much. And the way most pensions are calculated for public employees is based on three things. Your years of service, your retirement age, and your final average salary. Now, depending on your employer and the state you're in, there might be one other calculation in there, but for most people, it's those three things. All right. But here's the benefit of a pension. It provides you with a lifetime income. All right, which is important. Now we just need to worry about this. We can probably try and solve this by controlling some of our expenses. What if we pay our home off? Boom, 80%. That did it right there. Okay. That solved that gap. Now, the reason this is important, I'm going to put this back to 100% just so you can see it. There's some things I want to point out to you. Notice you have enough money until you reach age 80. All right. This is why it's important to plan today, save what you can into the right retirement solutions, know what you have, know how it's all going to work together, and know what your potential gap may be. And here's why. At age 80, you are less likely to want to take on a little side hustle or side gig to fill some of this gap, right? Also at age 80, when you get into your late 70s, early 80s, many people start to experience some health issues that may prevent you from taking on a little side gig. And your medical cost may go up as well. You want to solve this problem today, right now, today, wherever you're at. It doesn't matter if you're getting set to retire in 5 years or 30 years. You need to solve this problem today so you have enough time to work for it. Don't kick the can down the road like most people do. All right. You kick the can down the road, well, you know what you're going to be in for. And our whole purpose here is to help you retire happy. That's the number one objective. You do that by being 100% in control, knowing what you have, knowing what you need to do today so you can solve this problem. So I hope this helps. I'm going to wrap it up there, but super, super important. Now, as always, with this, we do not charge for this. You can go to our website here, retirehappyguide.com, schedule an appointment, and we will put together a retirement snapshot for you. So now you can make an informed and intelligent decision about your retirement, put yourself in control, and position yourself so that you can retire happy. Okay, so go ahead before you leave right after the webinar here, go ahead, click on schedule an appointment, and then also fill out this little form, get a copy of the ebook, Retire Happy Planning Guide, that's going to share some other information with you that is extremely valuable. And I look forward to meeting with you on Zoom and helping you put together a retirement snapshot. Have an awesome day. Take care. Bye.